Everybody, to another edition and another episode of Tarot by Hilary Live. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Hilary of tarotbyhilary.com, a professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition, because yes, my friend, you have intuition. So before I get into all the astro weather and the weekend forecast, the topic for today's episode is all about charm casting. Because we are in spooky season, October, my schedule of events, my schedule for workshops are all centered around some divination methods and connecting to your intuition through some different ways also that are more associated, I guess, with Halloween and with Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. So last week's episode, we talked a little bit about spirit boards and Ouija boards and how to make your own. So if you want to, you can definitely check out that episode, both on Facebook and also on my YouTube channel. Please go ahead and subscribe, but you can find all prior episodes on the free workshops playlist in both places, Facebook and on YouTube. So that was last week's episode. This week's episode, we are talking about charm casting. So I have a couple of my charm casting kits here. Most of them are from Carrie Paris. So I'll give you that information. And then I'll also tell you a little bit about collections and cultivating your own charm casting kit. If you happen to have one already, you can always add to it. These are symbols. They are symbols, and the more you curate your charm casting kits, the more personal and the more deep your ability to read them will go. So that's tonight's episode. So I hope you're excited. I definitely am. I've got everything ready here. And then we also do have the astrology to get to, because I believe the new moon is in Libra, if I'm remembering correctly, but we will get to that. And also we will do the weekend forecast right before we wrap up the episode. So if that sounds good to you, stay tuned. I see that we have a couple of viewers in here right now. Please go ahead and say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I would love to hear it. And welcome to all of you that are watching both live and also on the replay. Please know that if you are finding some of the things I say or the messages that I give resonant to you, it is because even if you're watching the replay later on, a month from now, a year from now, it's because that message is meant to hit you at that time and that time alone. If you had been here live and you had that experience or heard me say it, it might not have meant something to you. But just know, if there's something that resonates for you, it's because it's supposed to resonate for you at that exact place, time. Take what you will, what works for you, and please discard the rest. So now that I've given my introductions and told you about this episode and what we're doing for this episode, let me go ahead and check on my YouTube, make sure that we are tech savvy and we're broadcasting everywhere and that people can hear me and see me before we move into the astrology for today and for the weekend. Just to let you guys know, at the top of the episode, I usually give the astro weather from Teresa Reed from her wonderful Astro Biz Digest. And I give you that for today and also for the upcoming weekend. I may change things up a little bit this evening because I got a wonderful astrology for writers update from Jana Cadlick, if I pronounced your name correctly. Hopefully I did. She's a wonderful astrologer as well. So there are some pertinent things for this new moon that I wanted to share with you guys. It's not a usual new moon energy because we have other astrological events coinciding with it that's making this energy not new moon-like. But we'll get to that in a second. Hi, Katie. Oh, so Katie is here saying, taking a break from Facebook. Coincidentally, it has happened with Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I was thinking about that, actually. That's a really good point that you make, because I hadn't noticed this, like, while I'm thinking about it, while I'm looking at my YouTube stuff. I had seen on somebody else's social media feed that they were deliberately taking a tech sabbatical, like a sabbatical from social media for the duration of Mercury in retrograde, the last time Mercury went retrograde. And I thought, wow, what a great idea. What a neat idea to be able to do that and coincide it, that kind of tech sabbatical or that social media cleanse, with astrology, because that's a great time to take a break from social media, because technology is one of the things, technology and communication are two of the things that Mercury rules. So because Mercury is in retrograde, those things are usually adversely affected. So I thought that was pretty clever to be able to do kind of a social media cleanse around Mercury in retrograde. Let me turn this down. Technology and I just think that's very interesting. And also, by the way, Katie usually tunes in here on Facebook, but because she's taken a sabbatical from Facebook, coincidentally, for the Mercury retrograde, she is tuning in right now on the YouTube channel. So there you go. There is a benefit for me simulcasting to two different platforms. You know, you feel like you can drop in, you can get your astrological information and your charm casting information, and you can go about your business, and you don't have to get pulled into the suck of Facebook if you are consciously choosing to take a break from Facebook. So that's awesome. And thank you for tuning in, as you usually do, Katie, on Friday nights. I appreciate it. So really quickly, what this episode is about, it is about charm casting. It's an episode specifically about what charm casting is, what a charm casting kit can symbolize, what it can do, giving you a couple of examples of it. This is not a space for readings. If you are looking for a free reading, though, please stay tuned to the end of the episode. That is when I do my weekend forecast. Okay? Just also want to let you know that the astrology is going to be a lot shorter at the top of this episode, because I have a coven meeting that's supposed to start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I do this every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to try very hard to keep this episode shorter and sweeter than other episodes, which usually go for about an hour at the very least. So I want to make sure that I give you all of the salient points, not to short shrift you, but to be concise, because I don't want to be too late to my coven meeting that is happening at 7. So I already know that I'm going to be late, but I don't want to be too late to that. So just letting you guys know, just managing expectations at the top of the episode. So this episode is about charm casting. So let us talk first, though, about the astro-weather. So let me go ahead and pull this up, because I do want to give credit to Teresa and her wonderful Astro Biz Digest, which you can subscribe for $99 for a year subscription. And honestly, that is a steal, guys. I think it comes out to like maybe $2 a week. Like, imagine if you go into Starbucks or your favorite coffee shop and you always get yourself a coffee or a fancy coffee. And that's daily or every weekday. That's more money that you're spending per year than getting the Astro Biz Digest. Just putting it out there. It's super, super helpful. It is geared towards entrepreneurs, but I find it very beneficial in my personal life as well. So As always, we start with the astro weather from Teresa Reed from her Astro Biz Digest. Tonight, we're doing something a little bit different because I'm going to also bring in some of the astrology that I got from Jana Kadlik as well, because I found it very pertinent about the new moon. So let me go ahead and pull up the Astro Biz Digest, which I didn't do prior to hitting the live button. Apologies. Want to make sure everything's still working. Everything's moving and grooving. Okay. New moon in Libra on the 16th is ideal for forming new partnerships and joint ventures. Be alert for interesting new alliances that may show up around this day as well. They could bear fruit later on. For intention setting, focus on relationships, legal matters, and harmony. So this is okay. Let me know if I'm back, guys. I just did a little quick refresh. And hopefully you can still hear me. I'm going to double check on the YouTubes. Oh, good. Okay, Okay, good. Looks like we're back in action, guys. Katie, thank you for letting me know about that. I don't want to go away from the screen, but like literally, there was no warning about that. So I'm like I'm kind of watching. I'm watching myself to make sure that I'm still back, and hopefully you can still hear me and see me. I don't know where we cut off with the Astro Biz Digest with the Astro Weather, but I'm just gonna call it good. And yes, I'm back. You know, I mean, like, this is exactly the reason why people don't like Mercury retrograde. It really does mess with your technology. It messes with technology, travel, and communication. And especially when you're trying to live stream during a Mercury retrograde, which is both technology and communication, it's like super, super fun. So I will leave it at that for Friday's Astro Biz Digest, okay? But I wanted to share with you some of the notes that I got from Jana Cadlick's wonderful Astrology for Writers newsletter that she sends out. Which is basically, I don't normally pay attention to it, quite frankly, because I do get a lot of email, but this particular email struck me because I don't know why. I don't know why I was in the mood or it resonated with me, but I just saw the subject line, which I think was the new moon in Libra for writers. Spoiler, don't try to start something. So new moon is usually about setting intentions, guys, and it is usually about so actually let me switch this up a little bit. I want to add an item and make sure that I'm giving credit to Jana, and hopefully I spelled her name correctly. Let me just double check my my notes here, right? Ooh. Okay. I love it when people try to advertise their services on my workshop. Get the fudge out of here, man. Okay. You know, this is the reason why we look at the astrology, guys. Okay. So from Gianna Cadlick, for new moon in Libra for writers. Spoiler, don't try to start something. So this is very interesting. And this is the reason why I wanted to bring this up to you guys, because different astrologers have different opinions about astrology and how the transits are affecting us or could affect us. So new moon energy is usually really good for starting something new, setting your intentions, bringing stuff towards you. And then full moon energy is usually about releasing. So to have an astrologer come into my inbox and say, like, don't try and start something for a new moon, I was intrigued. So here's the astrology from Jana, or G. I'm never going to say your name correctly because I know I mispronounced it like the last time we met, the last time we went out to dinner together. So I'm just like going to stop. This is her correct spelling. And if you want to find more of her work, just let me know and I can send along the newsletter. But I believe the newsletter is Astrology for Writers. And there are a couple of different levels where you can get the overall general picture, but if you want to be a subscriber with more information, you do have to pay a fee for the subscription. So this is the free version. Most new moons are a time to seed something new, to pitch new projects, to reach out to editors and agents, to go out on submission. So this is, again, astrology for writers. But I think this is really good to keep in mind, even if you're not a writer. To manifest all the glorious creativity that's been brewing behind the scenes. But this is that rare new moon where you might want to keep things stewing privately for just a touch longer in the interest of putting finishing touches on things before sending them out into an extremely explosive world. We talked a little bit about the extremely explosive world from the AstroBiz Digest from Teresa Reed. If you're sensing a theme of unusually intense or abrupt astrology this fall, you're not wrong. This new moon in Libra, generally about infusions to our relationships, generally about nurturing love and beauty and connecting to folks through cultural projects, like we heard before from Teresa, is caught up now in some of the most intense stories happening in the sky right now. This moon leaves us all super sensitive. It's opposite the warrior Mars, which has been retrograde in tempestuous Aries for 5 weeks, asking us to review our relationship to conflict. It is a difficult square to that cluster of Capricorn planets, Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto, that keep saying no, that keep asking us to review what we're transforming, that can give us a little, but asks so much of us in return. So this is great. This is all from Jenna. So you may feel stale or stuck, frightening or torrential, frustrated, or simply sad. This is a moment of reflection, of pausing, of going in rather than out, of nourishing ourselves with books to read rather than the books we tell ourselves that we must write. This is a day to listen, to breathe, to journal, and to be, rather than to push yourself to do. She also ends this with a quote from Mary Oliver. I go down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the hour, the waves are rolling in or moving out. And I say, oh, I am miserable. What should I do? And the sea says in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do. So that is a different viewpoint from a different astrologer, but it ties in really nicely with what Teresa was saying. So normally a new moon, yes, is about setting new intentions, but we may want to be cautious about that because of what I just read with the warrior Mars being in opposition to that and in Aries. So keep that in mind. Know that if you're not feeling driven to create something, to set those intentions, to like get out there and, really manifest or put the manifestations in motion, that's okay that you're not feeling it right now. This is an unusual new moon because of the other astrology that's at work. So I wanted to really cover the astrology quickly, but also effectively to let you guys know it's a little bit unusual. You may not want to do the usual new moon things that you might do because it's an unusual new moon. So that is the astrology from both Teresa Reed. Thank you, Teresa. Sign up to her Astro Biz Digest if you're interested. And also thank you to Jenna and her astrology, Astrology for Writers. You can sign up for her newsletter as well. So let us talk about charm casting. Now, I don't want to go too in depth with charm casting. And if you want to know more about different divination systems, including what I consider to be oracle systems, you may want to check out another of my previous episodes, which is all about oracle cards, oracle charms, and Lenormand and angel cards, and the differences between those different divination systems that are other than tarot. Because I feel like that episode would give you general background information for how to work with charms. But I really want to feature some of the charm casting kits that I have that I've gotten from both Carrie Paris and also the wonderful Tessera Oracle, which also I believe is kind of a quasi charm kit as well as being an oracle. So, and a different divination system in and of itself as well. So does anyone have any questions about the astrology? Let me just go back quickly to the Astro Biz Digest and check out some of the highlights for the weekend, because I normally don't do just Friday. Let's see. Moon enters Scorpio at 1:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, simmering down for the weekend. That's what it seems like, but they are not. You want to duck and cover, spend the weekend strategizing, work on behind-the-scenes projects and organizing your financials, and keep your nose out of the news if you want to avoid being distracted. Do not read the comments. Be ready to use the block button. Sit down, discuss the future, brainstorm, but don't do anything. Like, don't put things in motion. It's a better time to be brainstorming. Sunday starts off with remarkable aspects between the moon, Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter. From 6:05 a.m. to 7:39 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pre-schedule some smart marketing, and you may catch a few promising nibbles. Then 9:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the sun squares Saturn, which is akin to putting a wet blanket on your fire. Nothing comes easy now, and to do anything requires an enormous effort. Avoid get-rich-quick schemes or suspicious offers at this time when Venus opposes Neptune, 10:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If it seems too good to be true, it is. Watch your investments as well. Afternoon gets better, so Sunday afternoon, when the moon is sextile with Pluto, followed by another with Saturn in the evening. Adds discipline and power to the rest of the day. Excellent for completing top secret projects or working on behind the scenes stuff. Then the moon is void at 5:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take off and binge watch your latest obsession. Both days are power days for Scorpio and weekdays for Taurus. So that is Saturday and Sunday. A really, really quick recap of the astrology from Teresa Reed from the Astro Biz Digest. Okay, so that is all of the astrology that's fit to print right now. Now we're going to talk a little bit about charm casting. For those of you who are looking for a free reading, you have come to the wrong place. Unless, of course, you want to wait till the end of the episode in which I do a card for the weekend forecast. So stay tuned to the end of the episode. If you would like to book a reading with me privately for money, for pay, I don't do free readings. I am Hilary, and my website is tarotbyhilary.com. And so you can book a reading there. Please note that I am not an astrologer. I am a tarot reader. Okay, let us go to charm casting. So, like I said before, charm casting is a different type of divination to the tarot. It's kind of like an oracle deck, but it is charms instead of cards or symbols on the cards. And it is symbols in charms. So there's many different types of charm decks. And honestly, a charm kit can be a button collection. It can be bones and stones and sea glass and thimbles. It can be whatever you want it to be, but it is almost like these curios of objects. And honestly, this is the type of casting that has been around for a really long time. In fact, charm casting and collections like that, like bone casting, may be some of the oldest forms of divination that we have in human history. So if that is interesting to you, we do have an episode of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast that I do with Melissa Sanova and Jamie Elford, in which we discuss different divination systems other than tarot, because the three of us are primarily tarot readers, but we do still love to explore and experiment with other divination systems. So I would really recommend that you check out episode 16 of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast, wherever you subscribe to your podcasts, and it is called Into the Mystic. So we explore different divination systems other than tarot. So in that episode, we talk a little bit about charm casting. We talk a little bit about oracle decks. So we talk a little bit about all these different kind of divination systems. And we have so much more to say that we are going to publish a part 2 to that episode as well, because there's tons of divination systems that we didn't get to talk about in just one episode. So you may want to check out that episode to find out a little bit about our philosophies about charm casting. But as Melissa so astutely points out in that podcast episode, charm casting or bone throwing is probably one of the oldest forms of divination that we actually have. So just to let you know. So I wanted to focus on this episode about charm casting and to let you know, just like last week's episode about Ouija boards and spirit boards, yes, you can go out and you can get a beautiful spirit board or a beautiful Ouija board, or you can even get the Parker Brothers version of the Ouija board that's 70s-tastic or glow in the dark. But if you feel like you want to try out that system before you buy or before you really invest yourself into that, you can make your own. So if that's interesting to you and you want to learn how to make your own spirit board, that's last week's episode. So you can go ahead and check out the replay both on Facebook and on my YouTube channel. It's all right there. You can just search about spirit boards and how to make your own. Tarot by Hilary, youtube.com/Hilary Tarot. That's Hilary with one L. You should be able to find the episode really, really easily. In that same vein, I never want to do a workshop and have viewers or regular attendees feel like because of money, they cannot try out these different divination systems. So just like I said this for spirit boards and gave you instructions on how to make your own spirit board, I'm going to say the same thing about charm casting. You know, use thimbles, use buttons, use different jewelry or little pendants, you know, use tiny crystals. These are all ways to make divination accessible. Again, in that episode of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast, Into the Mystic, Melissa points out that this person's work that I'm going to feature right now, Carrie Paris, she had mentioned this to Melissa that, you know, you can reach into your purse and if you pull out the lip balm, the Burt's Bees lip balm, it could mean this. Or if your hand touches your compact mirror instead, it means this. So you can use what you have already. You don't have to go out and buy something fancy in order to be able to use these different divination systems that I'm talking about. Does that make sense to everyone? Go ahead and say yes in the chat. Sorry, hold on a second here. I'm having pop-ups. Silly, silly pop-ups. Preventing me from reading some comments here. So I want to make sure, like, I will give you all of the information. If you find these kits that I am featuring interesting and you want to go ahead and purchase your own, please feel free to do so. I will provide you the links, okay? So what I want to do first is I wanted to focus on the Tessera Oracle. Now, again, this is an oracle system, but it is very charmy. So I didn't want to leave it out of the whole charm casting concept. But when we talk about the Tessera, when we talk about charm casting, there is this kind of like either dipping your hand into a bag and pulling out, and then seeing which symbol you pulled out or which charm you pulled out, which you can definitely do for the Tessera Oracle. Or when you're casting the charm, it has this like this connotation where you're putting your hand in and then you're pulling out whatever charms it is. You don't know unless you know by feel. And then you drop. You release them onto either like a clear surface, or sometimes there are different cloths that you can use. And then depending on where the type of charm is, what the type of charm is and where that charm lands, gives you the meaning or gives you the interpretation of that reading of the charm casting. So it can be done many different ways. You can go reach in and pull out of a bag, or you can take the bag and throw, or you can grab into the bag and then drop. So you want to make sure that you have a clean surface to work on. if you have like a coffee table, you want to make sure you clean off the coffee table, and you want to make sure as well that you're not working so close to couches or chairs or someplace where if you drop a charm and it goes too far, it rolls under the couch. Like, there goes your charm. You're not going to get that back again. So you may have to then sub in whatever charm that you lost for a new charm, like a button or a thimble or a bead. So just keep this in mind when you're working with charm casting. Like, you don't have to fling your charms. Just having just dropping them onto the surface, it will do what it needs to do. You don't have to put in elbow grease when you're doing charm casting. I've seen it. I've seen it. Some people are very aggressive when they cast their charms, and then they fly everywhere, and then you're not focused on the reading anymore. You're focused on where the hell did that charm go? So now, that being said, when I work with the Tessera Oracle, I do not drop them from any heights. I do not fling them. No. What I do is I take them out of the little baggie and pull one. So like, for example, here, I just pulled the snake. Now, that has a specific meaning in this particular divination system. Now, if you were working with a charm, it may be tactile and shaped like a snake. Snake here, snake in another charm system, it could be two different things. So remember, when you're working with charms, it can become very personal, and it can become like the meaning you ascribe to it is that meaning. And that meaning may shift depending on the context of the reading or your mood, or knowing that if you're working with somebody else, what they may ascribe a charm to mean may not be the same meaning as you, and that's okay. So I know that seems complicated. I know that seems like it may be hard to be able to read somebody else's charms. And to me, honestly, when I do charm casting, like, I'm very rarely reading for other people. I feel like it's a personal thing for me to be able to read my own charms and ascribe that meaning. I can do it, but especially if it's in conversation with somebody else. What does that mean to you? Very similarly, actually, to how I read tarot. I believe a good tarot reading, it's not just me just spouting information at you. No, it's a conversation between reader and client, because what I see in a tarot card may not be the same as what the client sees. But by working together and sharing what we both see, it becomes a more fuller reading for the clients. So that makes sense? Let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear it. So that's Tessera. Tessera is a different oracle system. So like, for example, here's the lighthouse. Pulled the snake again. Here's the path. So notice how they all have the same shape. They have the same embossing in the back. They have the same hole here so that you can be able to wear it as a talisman as well, which is a fun feature of the Tessera that I really, really like, to be able to wear the charm to remember the reading. But they all have different symbolism on the front of them. But as you can see, I think you know why now I don't just fling those. They have a weight to them. They have a heft to them. As you'll see in some of the other charm kits that I have, they're a lot lighter and smaller. So, and if you want to learn more about the Tessera, I do have other episodes that I focus on the Tessera, specifically that oracle, the difference between angel cards, Lenormand, and oracle. So you may want to check out that episode. And I believe I have another episode dedicated entirely to unboxing the Tessera Oracle and giving some readings to show how that oracle system, that divination system works. So that's the Tessera Oracle. Please know that I will put in links at the end of the episode, or actually, let me just do it right now, because otherwise, otherwise I am just going to forget. So make sure you keep staying tuned. Do not go to these links until after the episode is over. Please and thank you. So let me allow that link to pop up, and then I'll display it on screen. So that is the link to go to the Tessera Oracle for more information. So if you're either way you're watching, you should have that link now up in the live chat. Don't go there until after the end of the episode, okay? Okay. All right. So the other kits that I wanted to focus on in this episode are mostly from Carrie Paris, who is amazing. I'm going to go ahead and drop her link. And I believe, and so we talk about Carrie on the podcast episode that I mentioned before, Card Slingers Coast to Coast. And I believe that Carrie Paris actually did her dissertation on charm casting and I guess its history and its meaning. So she knows what she's talking about, put it that way. So these kits that I'm about to show you are all from Carrie's websites. Some of them she did in collaboration with Andrew McGregor of the Hermit's Lamp, and some of them she did on her own. But I'm sure you can find all of the kits and the information. Hopefully they're not sold out. If they are sold out, I apologize. I'm sorry for that. But I believe at least one of them is available on her website. So let me start out first with the Lenormand charms. So this is Carrie. I don't know if these are available anymore. Let's see. So little vellum bag or what have you. Do you hear that? So this is primarily what people are thinking about when they think about charm casting and charm casting kits, because these are very lightweight. Well, most of them are. There's an envelope in here, that's a letter charm in here that's a bit bulky, but most of them are pretty lightweight and small. These are charms. And you can, again, I want to emphasize, you can add whatever you want to in order to bring more meaning and make your charm casting kit more personal. So like if you have a thimble, for example, that your grandmother gave to you, put that in the charm casting kit. It might be, we'll get to this in a second, but I have another kit here that is for mediumship and charm casting. So if you want to be able to connect to your grandmother's spirit and you want to know if she has a message for you or if she's talking to you, go ahead and put that thimble in there. That might be a representation of then your grandmother speaking to you. If you have a little skull bead, if you have a bit of turquoise or jet, all of these things you can add to your charm casting kit and create your own. So this particular one I wanted to mention, not because it's a pure charm casting kit, but because this is specifically made to be a Lenormand charm casting kit. So these charms follow the rules of the Lenormand divination system. So this is not a pure like charm casting thing, because it follows the rules of Lenormand. So you can still cast, but at the same time, you still want to use the rules of the Lenormand, which is, like, for example, mouse. So mice is one of the traditional 36 cards of the Lenormand deck. So I just pulled the mouse. Please note that I'm not flinging my terms around for this episode because I don't want to lose them underneath my kitchen cabinets. What did I just pull? Oh, okay. So that snake is following me. So for example, here I just pulled 3 cards, but they're not cards, they're charms, of the Lenormand. So then I would read using the Lenormand system. So it'd be mice, tower, and snake. But notice, see these charms? They're quite small. But you would then use that divination system to interpret these charms. So it's not as charm casting as I was describing before, because it is Lenormand charms. They were made specifically to be a kit of 36 charms representing the symbols of the Lenormand deck. Make sense to everybody? By the way, tower in the Lenormand is not the same as tower in the tarot deck. Tower in the Lenormand is usually about structures and institutions. Tower in the tarot is shit blows up. So you have to remember what divination system you're working in. Sometimes it's very hard to learn Lenormand, for example, if you've been working with tarot the entire time, because I call it my tarot brain. Sometimes my tarot brain really messes with my interpretation of Lenormand because it's a different divination system. So that's the Lenormand charms by Carrie Paris. Next, we have the mediumship and casting charms. These are also by Carrie Paris. I don't have specific links to any of these except for the last one that I'm going to show you guys. So this one I kept in its original bag. So it's the mediumship and casting charms, casting seer charms. And this came with a scarf. So this is one of the instances where you would need a nice, oh, where are we? Okay. So I would recommend watching last week's episode and then coming back to this, because we talk a little bit about the Ouija board and the planchette. So we talk about like ask again, yes, no, farewell, goodbye. We talk about this last week. So those are kind of traditional things that you see in a Ouija board. Here we have a scarf that has these symbols imprinted on them. And it also has different arrows, different symbols as well. So depending on where your charm falls on this particular reading scarf, it may change the interpretation of the meaning of the charm. Like, for example, if you had the dog charm, I don't know if there's a dog charm in this particular kit, but if you have the dog charm on the house symbol, it could mean something very different than if you had the dog directly in the center in the eye, or on the broom, or on the ship. So, like, to me, if I saw the dog in the house, I would think, who's in the doghouse right now? But that's how my mind goes. So you can see how charm casting would be very interesting and also very, very personal to whoever is doing the interpreting or the casting. Or for example, if the question is, should we get a dog? And the dog charm comes up and it lands on the no, well, then you've got a clear answer, don't you? Or even ask again. So, this scarf is kind of like a fun mix of Ouija board and also Magic 8 Ball. Especially when I see that whole ask again, I always get that vibe of the Magic 8 Ball. And if you didn't have a magic 8-ball when you were growing up, I feel sorry for you. I ended up breaking mine, and all the blue stuff came out of it. I was so sad. I was like, this isn't very mystical. I broke my magic 8-ball. One wonders if that's like as bad luck as breaking a mirror. Would it be 8 years of bad luck breaking a magic 8-ball instead of 7 years for breaking a mirror? I don't know. So that's the scarf that goes with this particular kit. But sometimes I've used this kit and I haven't even needed the scarf. And you can use this in different ways too. You can cast, like I was saying before, or you can allow the person's hand to dip in and drop. Or just dip in and hold out their hand and see which charms came up. So for this particular kit, I nearly just missed. Ooh, that charm just nearly went right behind my fridge. That would have been bad. So for this kit, we have different symbols because it is not a Lenormand kit. Now we have like a charm casting. Now for this was made specifically in order to communicate with spirit in a mediumship kind of way. But you don't necessarily have to restrict yourself to that. You can simply ask different questions and then see which symbols come up. So, and again, I love the sound of different charms being shook in the bag. So like I'm going to reach in here and I'm going to ask what spirit is around me right now. So I just pulled the key, and this came with this kit. So this can also be used. It can be used as a charm itself, a key charm, like unlocking something or a secret unlocking, or it can be used as a pendulum as well. So it can be used as both. But here I got the key and I got the bridge. So this can be very personal, or it can be a kind of different symbolic language that is needed to be learned in order to unlock the meaning of these different symbols. Like, for example, bridge, this could remind me of the time that I walked across a bridge with my father, or this could be very literal. It could be an ancestor with the last name of Bridge or Bridgman, or, you know, like it can be interesting to work with charm casting because it doesn't have this kind of linear past, present, future kind of feeling with the tarot. And because of that, it can be very flexible to work with, but also can be difficult to work with. This is the reason why I say it can be very personal. You know, like you don't know what associations you might get until you pull out the charm, and you might be thinking about a memory of going to visit the Brooklyn Bridge with a loved one, or another different bridge entirely, or driving across a bridge from your childhood and your dad lets you shift the gears in a stick shift. That's the memory that's coming to mind right now. My father unfortunately did pass away, so I feel like he's around me right now because his birthday is in October. So so you can see how personal connections can come up when you get the different charm symbols. So does that make sense to people? Let me know. I'm going to pull another one. Music notes, and Once Upon a Time. So actually, no, that's a question mark and a storybook. So Is anyone feeling any particular draw to a little storybook of once upon a time and a question mark? That could be just a message for you. So I see that Katie, you said makes sense from before. This is weird. Hold on one second. Let me check my settings before I move on to the other kit that I wanted to feature as well. Give me a second here. I'm also going to take the time to refill my water a little bit. Hold on a second. Want to make sure that I don't spill water everywhere. By the way, just to let you know, I say this frequently on the broadcast, but I want to emphasize it. Make sure that you hydrate yourself when you do spiritual work, when you do metaphysical work. It's really, really important to do so. And let me make sure, while I'm in here, I'm going to pin this video to the top of the page. Make sure. Wait. Okay. Yep. Thanks for sticking with me, Katie. Still making sense. Awesome. I do want to know, if you are watching right now, have you ever used charm casting kits before? Or if this is brand new information to you, I would love to know. All right. But I really do want to emphasize here, if you don't have the pocket money, if you don't want to invest in a charm casting kit, going out and like buying one separately, you can make your own. It may seem a little weird, or it may be buttons and bits and baubles, but it's yours. And the more that you make it, or it could be like pine cone, get glittery pine cones, or it could be like, there is this kind of collector element to charm casting as well. So it could be buttons, it could be thimbles, it could be a really nice piece of sea glass, or a beach stone that has a natural hole born through it. All of this can be like, these collections and curios can become a charm casting kit for divination purposes. And the more that you personalize it and the more that you add to it, the more that you make it your own, and really start to work with that kit. So awesome. Great. Okay. So Katie's saying use runes, but never charms. So this is new and fascinating for me. Awesome. Great. Because it does have, charm casting does have a little bit of stuff in common with runes, but runes is its own divination system as well. Charms, I feel, can be a little bit more flexible and a little bit personal for all of the reasons that I just mentioned. Great. And Nikki's saying, hi, Nikki. Nice to see you. Wonderful that you're here live. Nikki is usually on my IGs, so that's awesome that you're here. So charm casting is brand new to you. Awesome. Great. So I hope you're getting a lot of information from this episode. And just remember, like, I do these episodes every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if there is a topic that you want to revisit, that you want more information about, I would be happy to do a part 2 to any of the episodes that I've already done. We can go in depth, and if you guys have any requests as to topics that I haven't covered yet, I've covered quite a bit of them in the last year that I've been doing these weekly episodes. Just let me know. I am open to requests. Okay, so one final charm casting kit that I want to point out here. And this is the reason why I'm saying, like, I want to give this caveat of, like, you don't have to go out and buy this, you know, because, like, this is the most sophisticated and complicated one that I have that I'm about to show you guys. And, like, I invested quite a bit of money in it, and also did the class that went along with it. The class is not going on right now, but I believe the kit itself is available for purchase, but it is not cheap. So given that, that's the reason why I gave the caveat of, like, you don't have to go out and buy stuff that's fancy, you know, for it to work for you. Like I was saying before, that whole concept of, like, if I pick up, like, my red lipstick out of my bag, it means this. If I pick up my beige lipstick or my lip gloss out of my bag, it means this. So it's like, we make meaning. And it's true for, like, language is arbitrary, but it could have easily been called a table. That's a chair. A chair could have been a table. A table could have been a chair. So just like language is arbitrary and we make meaning from it, same thing with divination. Meaning is made by us, and no one can tell us otherwise. You know, like, what I ascribe meaning to may not be meaningful to you, but that doesn't mean that it's meaningless. Okay. So the reason why I'm saying you can buy your own, you can either buy your own and be crazy like me, or you can make your own. And making your own, even if you want to start with, you can always start with, like, one of these charm kits, right? But then you can add to it as well, as much or as little as you want. Like, I really, really want to emphasize that point. So, oh, good. So Nikki says, yes, learning so much. My daughter's very interested in learning charm casting as well. Thanks for introducing this. Awesome. Great. And then you can just share the video with your daughter and watch it together. So if she's not watching already right now. And you know, so much the better if I can drag you all down the rabbit hole with me of learning new divination systems, and this kind of being, it's both my business, you know, like, I am a professional tarot reader. So tarot is my main squeeze. It's what I understand the most. It's what I've studied the most. I've been reading the tarot since I was 16 years old. And I've been reading professionally since 2005. So I've been at this for, oh my gosh, 2005, 15 years. 15 years of professionally tarot reading. So, but just because I love tarot doesn't mean that I'm also not fascinated by other divination systems. So I love to be able to bring people into the fascination with me. And that's the reason why I like doing these episodes every week, because it's just like, even if I don't know something in depth, I can still bring it to you guys and say, like, here's some interesting things that I found out. Like, for example, last week with the spirit boards and learning how to, teaching you how to create your own spirit board. I actually saw my mom this past weekend, and I told her, and that's who taught me how to make my own spirit board, because I feel like she refused to get me my Ouija board before I got my Ouija board. For that story, go back to last week's episode. But my mom taught me how to make my own spirit board. And that's what I taught last week. I showed off my spirit board, but I also showed you how to make your own. That was something that my mother taught me. I asked her about that this weekend. I was just like, hey, Mom, do you remember that you taught me how to make my own Ouija board? You know, when I was a teenager, do you remember that? Do you remember me stealing that little aperitif glass out of the cupboard and, like, making my own little, like, divination bag with my with my little slips of paper and the little like brandy snifter or whatever as the planchette. And she was just like, yeah, I remember. She laughed about it. She thought it was very, very funny. And I asked her, where did you learn that? Because I didn't know if it was a family thing that like her mother taught her or if one of her friends taught her. Apparently, I think one of her friends taught her while they were hanging out in this old abandoned farmhouse, and they were like using this makeshift spirit board using the technique that I taught last week. So I'm just like, huh, okay, so that's what my mom got up to when she was a teenager. She would use Ouija boards with her friends in this abandoned farmhouse. So that's the story behind how I learned how to make my own Ouija board. Anyway, but that's why I want to emphasize it. Like, for example, my grandmother had a button collection that was passed down to my mother, and then my mother passed it down to me. There's nothing to say that your button collection, that a red button means this, that a blue button means this, that mother of pearl button doesn't mean this. Like, that collection aspect, it's great for charm casting. So keep that in mind if you guys have a button collection. Or any other kind of collection. Baseball cards. You could probably do this with baseball cards as well. Probably wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're looking to keep your baseball cards in mint condition in their little, like, not plexiglass, but their little, like, envelopes. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so finally, the piece de resistance. This was this is an oracle that you were able to get. This is through Andrew McGregor and Carrie Paris. It's called the Charming Dead Oracles. And it is available. The kit itself is available. The class that went along with it is not. I don't believe they're teaching it at this time. It was an online class. Let me see. Yes. So I believe you can get the kit. Just to let you know, the kit is $135. It's beautiful. It's $135. I'm just putting that out there now so that you don't get sticker shock. Okay? Putting that in the link. I will display it in a second. But just know that if you do get this, you're not going to get the chorus at the same time. I did take the chorus along with it. So, and I don't know when they'd be offering it again, but I believe it was a 5-week chorus, and I think we did like one or two classes a week to understand the kit that we had gotten. So, displaying the link right now and hydrating myself. All right. So, this is the kit. I believe it came in an old Padron cigar box. So it's quite large. Beautiful hinges. So open it up. Yes, Padron cigars. But this is everything that comes in the kit. So I just want to show you how it lays out there. So this has a combination of a whole bunch of different things. So it does have a scarf, like I showed you before, but it's a different scarf, okay, with different symbols on it. So I don't want to take out that scarf though, but it's different. Yeah, it's all nice and sealed up, and I don't want to dick with it right now. So I'll just hold it up, but it's basically got like a skeleton on it. It has there you go. Actually smells really good too. So I'm going to give you a list. Actually, that's where, okay. I was wondering where I put that. So it comes with cards, with dice, with charms, and with an oil as well. So let me list the things. So, but it is at that link that I've already provided. So it has a 54 card pocket deck. Each card in the Charming Dead deck houses 2 unique symbols that trigger a poetic dialogue, often communicated through the archetypal dead. A Mercury dime pendulum for reading the direction and movement of the archetypal environment from the other side. And by the way, guys, Mercury dimes are really, really helpful, especially right now when we are in Mercury retrograde. Of course, I'm looking in my kit and I'm realizing that my Mercury dime is not in here. I have a feeling it's in my jewelry box, because what I would do is I would wear it as like kind of a protection from Mercury retrograde fuckery. But the Mercury dime has Mercury on it, like the god Mercury. So that's the reason I'm saying Mercury dimes come in handy during Mercury retrogrades. You can use it as kind of a protection. But of course, it's not in my kit right now because it's in my jewelry box. I don't know where. 67-piece metal charm casting kit with a 6-sided dice that reads the who, why, what, where, who, what, why, where, when, and how of the archetypal dead's messages. A casting cloth for pinpointing, understanding, and navigating the love of thousands, which is spirit. Handmade charming dead blessing oil, charged and blessed to protect, attract, and open channels of communication, and all items packed in a customized cigar box. So, yeah, I already showed you all that. So actually, at the link that I sent, you can see the casting cloth spread out, and you can also see the blessing oil as well. And for some reason, I put my my amber pendulum into the box. I guess probably to substitute from the Mercury dime pendulum that I have in my jewelry box right now. So again, like, you can specifically craft your charm casting kit for a specific purpose. In this case, I have not one but 2 charm casting kits that are dedicated to mediumship. Even though it freaks me out, I still want to work with that energy. Actually, let me see if I can put 2 of these together in the same box so that I'm not having to look for both. But these are the charms that are going to be different, again, to this other charm kit that I showed you. So let's pull a charm from here, shall we? Ooh, I just pulled... I just pulled 1. I'm not dropping them, guys. I am not dropping them, because then they will go and I will not get them back again. So, like, for example, here, these charms are even smaller still than the other charms that I showed you. So we have a little smiley face here. We have, looks like a little house, or yeah, a little tiny, like almost apartment building. We have a swimmer. We have a little gravestone with rest in peace on it. We have a mischievous looking little monkey. Sorry, you guys can't see him. There we go. Little monkey. And we have a butterfly. Now, butterflies are particularly poignant for me because they are a symbol of transformation and evolution. They are often messengers of spirit as well. So there again is yet another charm casting kit. But see, like, you could even go to like a craft store and pick out your own charms and make your own charm casting kit. Really, the sky is the limit, but or even if you find sea glass or shells, or shells too, those can be integrated into a charm casting kit. So I hope that helps. Okay, cool. Yes. So I hope that is interesting to you guys. I hope this inspires you to check out the different charm casting kits that I just featured on this episode. And I hope this inspires you to make your own and really explore different avenues of divination, because, tarot may not be your thing. Tarot is definitely my thing, but tarot may not be your thing. But I do believe that divination systems are there to be tools to connect you to your own intuition, or not only intuition, but if you are guided to connect with the spirit world or with your ancestors or with your beloved dead, especially at this time of year, maybe you're freaked out by that whole concept of mediumship. But charm casting doesn't freak you out quite as much, because that's the tool, it's the conduit, so there is this kind of like separation, but also you're still able to access that energy in a way that's comfortable for you, in a way that you can understand. Symbols are a common language of the living and the dead as well. So don't feel like charm casting, just because I showed you 2 mediumship charm casting kits, don't feel like charm casting just has to be for that. It can be everyday divination as well for you, just to help put you in touch with your own intuition, which I strongly believe everybody has intuition. Don't argue with me. Everybody has intuition. So we don't want to hold up these divination systems or these tools or these pieces of paper that we call the tarot up on this pedestal. They respect the method, yes, respect the tool, but know that it is a tool to access those levels of consciousness and those levels of intuition. That is my main point here. So to wrap up today's episode, we did a lot tonight. So I want you guys to get a good night's sleep. I want you to rest. I want you to make sure that you hydrate yourself, because even if you feel like you haven't been doing anything, you have. You've been learning. You've been listening. And with that, that's an energetic exchange. I'm not doing all the work here. You're doing the work by being on the other side of the screen and listening to what I have to say and absorbing this information about charm casting, but also the astrology that I told you up at the top of the hour. And we're going to talk about the weekend forecast as well. I'm going to do the weekend forecast this time from the Miracles Now affirmation oracle deck. I call it an oracle deck. It's a 62 card deck. There's no symbols really to glean from. It's just words. It's affirmations. So we'll do that in just a second. I do want to remind people that I do this every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for October 9th, we already recorded that. That was last week. We did spirit boards and how to make your own. Tonight, October 16th, we did charm casting. I thank you so much for watching. Now, next week, October 23rd, it's to be determined. I don't know what I'm going to be teaching next week, but I would love to hear your suggestions. Whether or not you want me to open it up to free readings. I don't normally do that, as you guys have seen, but if that is the focus of the episode, we can definitely do that with 1 question, 1 card readings for that. Or what I was thinking about doing was reading The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry, which is something that I read every Halloween, every October. It's like 45 pages, large print. It is a children's book, but it's something that I read every year to get me in the Halloween spirit, the October spirit. So I can do that too. So I'm very open to suggestions for next week's episode. But let's keep it spooky-ooky. And I just want to remind people that there is no show on October 30th because the next day is Halloween. I am a practicing witch, so that this time of year is sacred to me. So I am going to be taking the night off and probably doing my own personal ritual. So just wanted to let you know. So let me know about October 23rd. If I don't hear some feedback by around about Wednesday of next week, I will make my own decision. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions right now about charm casting before we move into the weekend forecast? Let me know. I'm going to take a sip of water. Oh, cool. Okay, so Katie's voting for the blue-nosed witch. Yeah, it's super, super cute. I think it was originally published in the 1950s, if I'm remembering correctly. I think I have the 70s version from Bantam Skylark Books. That was, I think, passed down to me from my sister, if I'm remembering correctly. It's worn and battered. It makes me feel bad because I usually take much better care of my books, but also this is a book from when I was a child. So I'm cutting myself a little bit of slack on that one. It's also very thin as well. So it's hard to not crack the spine or keep it in. It's a paperback, first of all, and it's a thin paperback. So I'm cutting myself a little bit of slack for kind of battering it, but it's well loved. So not well worn, well loved. So we have a vote for the blue-nosed witch. All right, if there's no questions about charm casting, we will move on to the weekend forecast. Let's see. I also want everyone to keep in mind that I am a professional tarot reader, that I do have appointments available for phone readings, for Skype readings, and for email readings. Since we are still in the pandemic, I do not have any in-person sessions available. I do hope you understand, but this is for your health as well as mine. Hopefully I'll be able to open up in-person readings again next year, but we'll have to wait and see because unfortunately there has been a uptick of positive cases in my area and in the tri-state area. So I want to make sure that I'm doing right by you guys by not doing in-person sessions. I do promise you, Skype readings, phone readings, email readings, they're just as good as in-person readings. Sometimes I think better. So putting that out there, please feel free to book on tarotbyhilary.com. I do have an online scheduler. And I pretty much keep regular appointment times. Appointments, it is appointment only, but I usually do readings on weeknights and on the weekends. I do have a full-time job, so no readings during the weekdays. All right, weekend forecast, yeah. So this is again from the Miracles Now card deck by Gabby Bernstein. Gabby Bernstein, by the way, is a New York Times bestseller. She wrote Miracles Now. She wrote Spirit Junkie. She wrote, oh gosh, what was her newest one? Super Attractor, I think was her newest book. Very well known in New Agey circles. Miracles Now, by the way, is one of her best-selling books. So this is the affirmation deck that goes along with it from Hay House. All right, what do we need to know for this weekend? Well, that's a doozy, guys. All right. The weekend forecast from the Miracles Now deck is, I don't need to find my purpose. My purpose will find me. I'll say it again. I don't need to find my purpose. My purpose will find me. So take that affirmation. my interpretation of that, I mean, it's fairly straightforward to me, but my interpretation, if you want an interpretation, is stop trying to force it, kind of go with the flow. Take those baby steps of your intuition. If you're walking and you want to turn right and you suddenly have this urge to turn left, turn left. You know, it's like it's a concept that sometimes is very hard for my tarot clients, because it's just like, it is this kind of quasi leap of faith, but it's a baby step leap of faith. So just see where intuition is leading you. You don't have to jump off the cliff like the fool. You can just take those nudges of intuition and follow them and see where they go. I don't need to find my purpose. My purpose will find me. Whoo! Okay. Well, there you go. There you go, folks. That is your weekend forecast. And that wraps up this week's episode of Tarot by Hilary Live. I thank you so much for watching. I do not take it for granted. Without you guys, there's no me, there's no business. You know, you are my clients, you are my viewers. So I thank you so much. And I thank you for taking the time to watch this, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the replay. Thank you for allowing me into your living room or your bathroom or your kitchen or wherever you're watching from. I so appreciate it, and I don't take it for granted. Please keep in mind, I do this every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, either on Facebook or on YouTube, wherever you're watching. I appreciate it. And so next week, it's either going to be one card readings or it's going to be reading The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry. So I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of a spooky, ooky, cute read along. Thank you for the suggestion, Katie. If you have other suggestions for upcoming episodes, please let me know. I am open to suggestions. Katie says, wow, what a forecast, right? I know. Let's follow our purpose, but don't try too hard. It'll find us. What is meant for you will not pass you by. Okay, with that, I will wrap up again. Once again, I am Hilary, professional tarot reader, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. And yes, my friend, do not argue with me. You have intuition. All right, have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and I will catch you